Okay, hello PELWELL family, and welcome to Restore and Rewind, where we undo all the trauma we cause to our body in our weightlifting and our cardio workouts. You do need several props today. You're going to need a blanket or something just for extra padding. If you don't have that at home or in the office, maybe an extra mat or something soft for the head. You are going to need a strap or something non-stretchy that we can use to assist in our stretches. If you don't have one at home, a belt works great. Yoga bricks or something about the same size, and a foam roller. So whenever you're ready, we're actually going to start in child's pose. So if your props are in your space, just go ahead and kind of get them out of the way to start. We're going to take wide knees. So those knees are as wide as the mat, big toes touch, and then sit into child's. We're going to be active in the upper body though. So walk the hands out a little further from the body, as long as it's not pulling the hips up. If the hips start to pull away from the heels, just digress back a little bit. But you want to feel this nice stretch through the upper back into those lats. The arms are really long and reaching. So you have a nice long line of energy from the tailbone through the crown of the head. Forehead's just kind of melting towards the earth. Neck is soft. Shoulders are down away from the ears. Active but relaxed, so not adding in any tension. And just take a couple of breaths here. And then we're just gently going to tuck the chin towards the chest. We're going to kind of like an ocean wave, round ourselves all the way through, press into those hands. Let your hips slowly start to melt towards the earth as you take your gaze forward. So you should feel this nice big stretch through these two front hip flexors. Keep the big toes together, keep the knees wide, and we're going to reverse that wave. So tuck the chin. And then we're going to push all the way back, press to those hands, all the way until you feel that stretch through that shoulder girdle, the lats, the shoulders, the upper back. And we're just going to keep moving through there. So tuck the chin, round the spine all the way through, press into those hands like you're melting into the earth, and then let the hips drop as you take your gaze forward. So nice, easy mobility through the hips and through the shoulders. Just keep flowing here. Grounding through the knees, keeping those big toes touching. Arms are super active the whole time. They're pulling us forward. They're assisting us as we drop the hips, and they're helping us press back as well. So stay with this breath. Easy stretch, opening those hips and shoulders. Notice how it feels in the body. If we're really tight, maybe in the lats. We did a lot of rowing action yesterday. Make sure we're not shrugging those shoulders up towards the ears to compensate. Really want to focus on opening up the lats and the upper back. One more here. Gently just wave the body all the way to the top. Let those hips melt. You should feel that hip opening. Stay active through the glutes so we don't feel this in the low back. And then tuck the chin as we sit back. And then we're going to come back through tabletop. So bring those knees under the hips. Shoulders under the wrists. Take a nice deep breath on the exhale, round the spine, decompressing through that thoracic spine, that mid-back. And then inhale, let everything fall towards the floor, decompressing your lumbar spine, your lower back. We're letting that belly fall towards the earth. We have this micro back bend through the low back. Exhale, press the floor away, round. And then inhale, let that belly fall. Everything away from your midline. Exhale, press back into the floor. Inhale again, find that length. And then slowly come back through neutral. I'm going to rotate this way. You stay facing the short end of your mat. We're going to walk the feet out a little wider again. Tuck your toes. And we're going to sit slightly onto those heels. It's not going to be for long. So you should feel a gentle stretch to the bottom of the feet in this position. But we're still going to focus on that back. So right hand reaches towards the left knee. We use that resistance to float the left arm up, twisting from that mid back. You feel this stretch coming up through the side body into the upper back, and then slowly release through center. We release left hand, right knee. Use that grab to open up the right side body. Slowly releasing. So I'll turn this way so you can see. So the knees are wide, big toes are still touching, and the toes are tucked under. So not only are we stretching the side body and into the lats, but you're also opening up the bottom arches of your feet. So if your toes are tucked under, or not tucked under, sorry, are not tucked and we're on the shoelace part, I invite you to tuck them under and to sit on those heels as you keep alternating side to side. So we can really, really, really open up those feet, those ankles, as we're still moving into that side body. So lots happening here. So try not to get too distracted. Focus on what we're stretching, what we're opening, and keep finding a fuller and fuller expression. You should really feel this through that side body though. One more on each side. And then slowly release. From here, we're going to untuck the toe. So now you're on the shoelace part of the foot. Keep the knees really wide. We're gonna thread the needle. So inhale, right arm up towards the sky. Exhale, thread it underneath the left, coming all the way onto your shoulder and onto your cheek. And then inhale, left arm high to the sky. Finding that twist through the upper back. Slowly release the left hand. Press that hand to release the right. Inhale, reach it back up. Slowly release it back down. Switching to the other side. Inhale, left arm reaches up, mobilizing through that back. Exhale, thread the needle, left arm under right, coming all the way onto that shoulder and cheek. Grounding through the left side as we float the right arm up towards the sky. Exhale, slowly release the arm back down. Press the floor away. Inhale, reach that left arm back up. Exhale, slowly release. Let's go one more on each side. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, thread the needle. Come all the way onto that shoulder and cheek. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, release. Press to that hand. Slowly root to rise. Inhale, right arm sweeps back up. Find that bigger range of motion. Slowly release. Last time, left side. Inhale, reaching that arm up. Thread that needle all the way underneath. Grounding onto that shoulder, onto that cheek. And then inhale, right arm up. Take another breath. Exhale, slowly release. Press yourself back through. Inhale, reach that left arm up. Exhale, come back through center. We have just one more in this position. So we're going to keep the legs exactly as they are. We're going to walk your left hand, turning the hand slightly out so we can come all the way to the inside of that left arm. So we're still focusing on that shoulder and that upper back. And then we inhale, reach the right arm up. So different than the threaded needle. Slowly release the right hand, press yourself up, slide the left hand back in. Extend your right arm out, rotate from that shoulder socket to come all the way to the inside of your right shoulder. Ground that shoulder through that arm, inhale, left arm up. Exhale, slowly release, press through that left hand to release the right. We'll switch to the other. Slide the left hand out, come all the way onto that inside shoulder, onto that cheek. Inhale up. So when we threaded the needle, we were on the outside of that shoulder. Now we're on the inside of that shoulder, alternating side to side. Nice and easy with every rep, just trying to find a little bit more range of motion. One more on each side. Final one here. And slowly press yourself back up. Nice job. All right, we're gonna grab two of our props, our blanket and our strap. So the blanket is gonna be towards the top of your mat. If you were laying on your belly, right about where your forehead would be. And then we're gonna have our strap. Just keep it in one hand as you come all the way onto your belly. So if you want to watch me for a rep, because when we get started, I want your gaze to stay at the floor. The blanket is right on the forehead, so the neck is nice and in line. Sometimes if the forehead is on the floor, it makes our neck spine not be as neutral. So we want to bring a surface into the equation that helps us stay nice and neutral. So we're going to take the strap, one end in each hand. We're just gonna find some active shoulders here. So arms overhead, extended out like a Y shape. We're gonna inhale the arms up. We're gonna pull in that strap as we activate through the shoulders, pulling the elbows down towards the ribs. Inhale, extend back up. Exhale, lower the hands towards the earth. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and join me. Inhale, reach up, active through the shoulder socket. Pull it down. Slowly release back up. So this is more mobility and finding range of motion and stability in the shoulders rather than just a shoulder stretch. So it should feel very active. Keep pulling that strap apart. We're not going to do many here, just about 2 more. Keep pressing through the tops of the feet and through the thighs to protect that low back. Make sure there's no slack in the strap. Last one here. And slowly release. Leave your strap. We're going to walk the hands back by the hips, Locust Pose. Keep that forehead onto the blanket for the inhale. As we exhale, reach your hands back towards the feet. Let the forehead float from the earth. Keep your gaze down towards the floor to keep the neck in neutral line. Do you feel this now in the lumbar spine, that low back? Press to the tops of the feet, the thighs, the hips. Find a little more height in that chest, in that upper back. Stay for another breath. Exhale, slowly release. Walk your hands. We're going to slide them under the blanket so we're cactus shaping the arms or field goal post shape. So nice and easy. Forearms into the earth. Take a nice deep breath. On the exhale, we root to rise. Just lifting the head up. Take your gaze forward. Keep pressing through the tops of the feet, to the thighs, to the hips. So again, you feel this in that low back, that lumbar spine. Make sure we're not shrugging the shoulders up towards the ears. Pull the shoulders down away. Keep pressing into those forearms to find more height through the chest. And just stay within your back's range of motion. If it gets to be too intense in the low back, you can always come down a rib cage or 2, but find as much height as you can. Stay for 3, 2, slowly lower forehead back towards that blanket. Slide the hands underneath the chest. Inhale, lift yourself back up through tabletop and release. Nice job. So you can set your blanket and your strap off to the side for now. If you're on a hard surface though, and as we set up to move into the hip flexors, you just want a little extra padding under the knee, you might want to bring your blanket back out and just slide it under the knee that's on the floor. But what you do need to have are your 2 yoga bricks. And we're gonna set up into dragon pose. So we're gonna step our right foot right between the 2 bricks. We're gonna tuck the left toe under to step that leg back. So that way, when we lower the knee down, it's a good 6 to 8 inches behind the hip instead of underneath the hip. And then we're gonna untuck that toe so it's on the shoelace part. Your right foot is right in between these bricks. So you notice on screen, you can't really see my right foot. And then we're gonna lean the body weight slightly forward. Now, as I drive my knee forward, it should line up right over that right ankle before the toes. If that knee is extending past the toes, I need you to step your right foot out a little further and then walk your bricks to match it, because we want to keep everything nice and aligned. These bricks are here, press into them to lift the chest. Take your gaze forward. You should feel a big stretch through this left hip flexor, right where that leg and that hip come together. Soften in the shoulders. Pull the abdominals in so we do not feel this in the low back. And stay grounded through all 4 corners of that right foot. So the right foot is not inactive. And by that, I mean it's not kind of like just lazily coming off onto the side. We're grounding through the arch of that foot. So that right leg is really, really active, pressing into the earth. Stay with your breath. Keep opening up that left hip. Keep pressing through the arch of the right foot. Take 1 more breath here. Keep the hands onto those bricks. We're just going to start to sit the hips back until our hips line up over the left knee. And then we're going to pull the right toes up towards the sky and towards that shin bone. Leave your arms long and then fold over your right leg, half splits. So we feel that big stretch through that right hamstring. I'm going to stay here for several breaths. Really allow that hamstring to open up, to lengthen, to take up space. Notice if we're shrugging those shoulders to soften that upper body. We just worked so hard to stretch through the entire back, upper, mid, and lower. So make sure we don't lose that by putting tension back into the body. Stay for another breath. And then slowly walk yourself back forward. We're going to take the hip block slightly in front of the foot, just enough space to ball heel step your right foot to the left side of your mat, and then let the right knee melt towards the right side. So you're set up into single pigeon. And we're going to bring the forearms onto these lifted bricks. You feel a big stretch to the outside of that right hip. Press into those forearms like you would in Sphinx pose. Pull the hips and the elbows towards each other so we can open up the collarbone and the chest towards the wall in front of us, taking your gaze forward. So not only do you feel that stretch in the outside of your right hip, you have this big stretch through the front body and through your lumbar spine and the low back. So stay with your breath. Keep breathing here. Allow that hip to open up. Notice if you're shrugging those shoulders, again, to soften. Pull the abdominals in. This is a very active stretch. And then slowly walk your hands back up onto those bricks. And then lift your chest up, trying to get your chest over the hips, taking the supported back bend. Maybe the gaze comes up to the sky. Maybe it stays neutral, straight in front of us. Whatever feels better in your body. And then slowly release back down. Hands come to the earth, and then we bring that right leg back through tabletop. We're going to stay on that right side, hip circle. So we're going to circle that leg out and find some mobility in that hip socket. Man, this class is almost half over. This class flies by. So gentle circles right through that hip socket. Make sure you're moving with such focus. If I asked you to stop at any point, you could. So we're not just swinging or circling that leg around. We're actually focusing on moving and mobilizing in that joint. Getting all that fluid in that joint moving. And when it feels good, hold. And then with that same focus, reverse the direction. Finding that mobility in the body. Strength training can really limit mobility and range of motion. So we want to make sure we counter that on our days off. Making sure we don't lose that mobility and that range of motion. And then slowly release. Staying again on that right side, we're going to kick your right foot out towards the side, making sure the arch of that foot lines up with that left knee. Ground through all four corners of the foot, and then gently just rock forward and back. Still focusing on mobilizing through that hip socket. Keeping that core nice and strong, nice long spine. So you have a big line of energy through the tailbone, through the crown of the head. Final 3, 2, hold center, rotate the foot at a 45-degree, bend your knee, and we're going to find big circles in that hip socket. So I want you to think you're using your right femur bone to actually move that hip socket. So like stirring a pot, making cookies or something with the dough, your femur is that actual spatula that you're using to mix that batter. So really dig into that hip, lean into that femur bone. And then when it feels like a good place, hold, switch your directions. Now I want cookies. Who's going to send me chocolate chip cookies? Okay, thanks. No raisins. You can keep your oatmeal raisins. One more. And then slowly release, come back through center. Nice job. All right, so we're going to do that whole series on the left side. So go ahead and step your left foot through the bricks. We're going to tuck the right toe under to lift the knee to kind of scooch it back just enough. So when we lower that knee down, it's a good bit behind that right hip. pressing those hands into the bricks. Slightly start to lean forward, making sure that knee does not pass the toes. If it does, just tip the foot out further. And then slowly, slowly press more and more into those bricks. So we can open up the chest and take the gaze forward. Big stretch and opening through that right hip flexor. No shrugging through the shoulders, so soften through the shoulders. Stay with your breath. Just allow the hips to keep melting towards the earth. Let that hip keep opening. Time under tension for your stretches. It takes time to let those muscles stretch out. So stay connected with your breath. And then from here, press into the hands to release the hips, coming into half split. So once the hips are over that right knee, pull your left toes up towards the sky. Keep your hands reaching long and fold over your left leg, deep left hamstring stretch. Keep those arms reaching. Make sure you're not shrugging. Pull the shoulders down away from the ears. Keep lengthening, lengthening, lengthening the upper body to drape more and more over that leg. Hamstring stretches are not just about finding straight legs. It's about finding that length in the body. So keep pulling your left thigh towards your left hip and keep draping your belly and your upper body over that leg to deepen this hamstring stretch. Knee can be softly bent and you'll still feel that big hamstring stretch as long as we're focusing on finding that length. Keep your hips nice and square. Notice if the left hip is forward, right hip is back. Pull the right hip forward, draw that left hip back. Keep everything nice and square and in good alignment. And then slowly bring everything back forward. We're gonna walk the bricks one more brick in front, and then ball heel step your left foot to the right side of your mat, and then let that knee fall towards the left. And then we're slowly gonna lower the forearms onto these lifted bricks, and then actively pull your hips and your elbows towards each other, towards your midline. We can open up the collarbone and the chest towards the wall in front of us. Feeling this big stretch in the outside of that left hip, into your lumbar spine and into the collarbone and chest. Softening through the shoulders, staying connected with your breath. Stretching is a lot like weightlifting. There's a lot happening when you're in an active stretch. So make sure you're focusing on everything that's happening in the body right now, being really present and aware. Another breath, and then keep everything as it is, but we're going to walk the hands up onto the bricks, lifting that chest over the hips. Keep pressing those bricks away from you to lift that chest. So you're really pushing into those bricks like they are the ground to lift the chest more and more and more. Maybe letting the gaze start to work its way up. Or if that's not comfortable, just keeping the gaze forward. Final 3. Final 2, and then slowly release back down. And then we're going to release that left hip back, coming back through tabletop, and we're going to find that mobility through the left hip. So small focus circles through that hip socket. Making sure we're not having to lean into the right side or bend the right arm. If you're trying to find a bigger circle, you notice you kind of have to bend that arm or lean to that side. You're out of your body's range of motion. So just make your circle a little smaller. Honor where you are today. And know that that changes day to day. You might just be a little sore, and so your range of motion is a little smaller. When it feels good, change directions. And that's okay. And then slowly release. We kick that left leg out towards the side, making sure the arch of the foot is still in line with that right knee. And then we find that gentle rock in the hips, forward and back. The next time you come back to the center hold, we're going to rotate that foot off at a 45, bend the knee, and then we have those circles through that hip socket, using that femur bone to find that movement. And then when it feels like a good place, just change directions. And then slowly release, come back through center. So we're going to use our foam roller to target the inner and outer thighs. So go ahead and grab that foam roller. We're going to start on the inner thigh. So we're going to place it kind of at an angle, come all the way onto the belly. And then we're going to place your right inner thigh right above the knee at this angle. I'll rotate the other way. At this angle. So it's kind of running parallel with your hip bone rather than with your mat. And then we're going to just roll through that inner thigh. So you roll from the knee almost to your hip bone, your groin. So we're really targeting that inner thigh. So you're just going to rotate from the hips. So the hips are open towards the right side, and then they close towards the earth as we rotate in. So really push as much weight into that foam roller as you can. We did lots of inner thighs Monday, and we had those sumo squats yesterday. So hopefully your inner thighs are feeling it. Make sure the foot is lifted off the floor, so we've got as much weight in that right side as possible. And really don't be afraid to get into that groin area closer to the upper part of that inner thigh, right where the leg and the hip come together. And then you're going to find the spot that maybe feels a little extra sensitive. And then we're going to hold. We're going to stack the forearms and just let ourselves melt into it. So let the foot touch the earth, let the upper body lower, and let all the weight in that leg just press into this foam roller for some trigger point. Make sure you still stay connected with your breath. And then keep the upper body as it is. We're just going to lift and lower that foot. So just pushing more and more weight into that leg, into that inner thigh. And then slowly, slowly release. Walk yourself back up and release that foam roller. All we're going to do is switch sides. So same thing, we're going to keep that foam roller at an angle running on the mat. And then we're going to place it right above that left knee. Get these chasing birds. Come onto those forearms. And we're just going to roll to the inside of that hip and then back to the knee. So pressing through those forearms, rotating from your hips through the mid-back. So hips face the floor. And then we find that little tiny kind of spinal twist almost, so the hips are facing the side wall. Keeping the whole leg off the floor, pushing into that foam roller. Really digging deep into that inner thigh, releasing all that trauma we caused to the fascia tissue. Whenever we're lifting weights or doing our HIIT training, all these microscopic tears, allowing that to heal. And then again, find that spot that maybe is like a little extra. Oh, I can feel that. And then hold, keep the foot floating, lower the forearms, stacking those hands so your forehead has a little pillow. And then just hold and let the body weight and gravity melt into this foam roller. So we're trigger pointing. We're finding that pressure point where it's a little extra sensitive, maybe a little extra trauma in the body that we need to let go of. And then all you're going to do is lift that foot up and then lower that foot down, finding maybe a little movement side to side. Just as we lift and lower this leg, you'll feel the muscle dig deeper and then have a little bit of a release. As we lift the leg, the muscle really pushes into that foam roller. One more here. And slowly release, bring yourself up. And we're going to transition now to the outside the thigh. So we can't really do anything about the IT band, but that's going to be the area that we're actually targeting, is the outside that thigh. So we're going to run our foam roller now parallel with the front short or the back short edges of our yoga mat. And we're going to bring it right above the knee on the right side and come onto the right forearm. Left foot is on the floor towards the front. We're going to float our right foot. So you might already kind of be like, oh, that's tender. But then we're going to roll from above the knee to right below the hip. And yes, it will be very tender. So try not to put extra tension or stress in the upper body to kind of counter this. If you need it, you can always lower that top hand to help. But this will be pretty intense. So just honor what it is and then try to stay with your breath. We're not going to do any trigger pointing, so don't worry if you're like, oh, I don't think there's a spot I can stop on. You might want to just keep rolling. And then slowly, slowly, slowly release off of it. Oh, that should have really opened up the outside of that thigh. And we're going to switch over to the other side. So now run it parallel with the opposite short edge of your mat. Start it right next to your leg. We're going to drape ourselves over it to come onto the forearms. Top leg comes in front. And then we roll from the knee to the hip, letting that foot float off the floor, really targeting the outside of that hip, or the outside of the thigh, I mean. So even though this top arm can support us, make sure we're keeping the hips nice and square. So if you're rotating towards the floor, you're gonna be hitting more of the quadricep, and we wanna target the outside of that thigh. So keep the hips and the chest square to the front. Just a couple more here. Stay with it. Keep breathing. And then slowly release, slide that foam roller out. Nice job. And you can set your foam roller off to the side. So we're going to finish actually on our backs. Make sure you have your strap towards the back of your mat wherever you lay down, like when you lay down where your head will be. So that way it's within arm's reach. Your blanket, however, we're going to unfold a couple times because we're going to use it and roll it up to make a little tiny, what am I looking for? Not oval, whatever that shape is. Cylinder, there we go, cylinder. So we're gonna slowly roll it, roll it, roll it. And you want to make sure that when you roll it, it's as wide as your shoulders or wider. So if it's too narrow that it's not going to allow you to lay with both shoulder blades on it, go ahead and unwrap it again, make it a little wider before you start to roll it. And then we're going to place it to the back of our mat, where if you were laying down, right where your shoulder blades would be. And then coming towards it, we're going to hold on to that as we lower down. Make sure we're placing our shoulder blades on it, not our rib cage. And then we're slowly going to allow our upper back to wrap around it, so the back of the head touches the floor. And then we're going to cactus shape the arms. So we're using this to support us in this back bend posture. Keep opening up the chest, let the forearms keep melting towards the earth. Making sure this little cylinder bolster we made is right below the shoulder blades and not the rib cage, so we shouldn't feel it in the mid back, it's in that upper back portion. And then just really focus on your breath. So with every exhale, maybe you can let the forearms melt closer and closer towards the earth. Finding a bigger stretch through the chest, through the front body. Stay really present and grounded with your breath. And if it's available to you to go a little deeper, let's extend the legs out long. But know that if that doesn't feel good for you, just go ahead and bend them back in, feet flat onto the earth. Stay with it. Stay with that breath. And then slowly, we're going to bring the hands closer towards the body. You're going to bring the triceps towards the cylinder that we made with the blanket and use that to push ourselves up and off. We're going to keep that, but we're going to roll it down and take it behind the hips. We're going to use this to find a supported inversion. So bridge your hips up off the floor, and then we're going to slide it underneath our tailbone and then lower ourselves back onto this bolster that we made with the blanket. From here, one knee into the chest at a time. Make sure the blanket is right in place. So it should feel really supportive, like just a wedge supporting your bottom half. And then when you feel really strong and supported, we're just going to extend the legs up to the sky. So go ahead and flex the feet for me. Let's make this a little bit more active. So we're not really stretching the hamstrings here. What we're allowing to happen is all the old blood to flow back out of these extended limbs towards the heart to help with our circulation. If you have poor circulation, you're always really cold in your toes and your fingers, you may want to reach the arms up too and just kind of like take a full limb inversion. So all 4 limbs, you're just letting all that old blood that's hard to get to these extremities because they're so far away from the heart, and let all that old blood flow back out. So when we release, new blood will pump back in. Just whatever feels better in your body, arms or no arms. And then soften the feet, just let them point, let go of that flex, that activeness. And then bending your knees super soft, let the heels fall back towards the hips. Take a breath here. And then we're going to reach the hands to grab the outside edges of the feet. Keep the hips on that blanket. If it slides out like mine just did, go ahead and bring it back underneath the tailbone. We're going to grab the outside of the feet, flex the feet again so it's like they're supporting the ceiling, and then pull the knees down towards your armpits, coming into a supported happy baby. So your low back should be grounded on something, whether that be the earth or a blanket. We want to be really strong and supported through that low back, so we're not like finding that hyperextension and we feel it in the low back. We shouldn't feel it in the low back. We should feel that in the hips and in those hamstrings. Soften through the shoulders. Oh, I only have 4 minutes with you guys. I wish this class was like 2 hours. And if it feels good for you, just find a gentle rock side to side. But if that doesn't feel good, just come back, find that stillness. And then slowly, slowly coming back through center, gently release. Let your feet come all the way back towards the earth. Press to the bottom of the feet to lift your hips and slide your blanket out from underneath of you. Just let it come off to the side, and then one vertebra at a time, lower yourself back down towards the earth. And we're going to finish with our strap. So grab that strap. We're going to place both feet in the middle of that strap. Hold on to the bottom edges of the strap, one in each hand. And then from here, pull into the hands and let your feet come out really, really wide. That's going to kind of take a lot of that slack out. There's a lot of tension in the middle. Arms are reaching up, and then gently rock side to side in this wide-legged supported hamstring stretch. So we're still stretching those hamstrings. So we have that strap. So keep pulling the legs closer and closer to being over the chest. So you feel the posterior chain stretching and releasing. But then we're also finding that release to the lumbar spine, massaging that low back by rocking side to side. And then use the strap, pull the feet back towards each other. And then walk the hands up the strap, pull the legs over the chest, press the heels away, pull the toes towards the shin, deep, deep hamstring stretch. Soften through those shoulders, let the backs of those legs open up. And then we're going to slide the hands back down the strap to the end. Hold on to it. We're going to use this to lower the legs. So hold on to the strap as we slowly use the arms holding onto the strap to let the legs fall all the way down towards the earth. And once the legs are released, you can let go of the strap in the hands and let your legs fall off naturally from your hips. Let your hands find your body. So one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Really ground yourself. Take a nice deep breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Take an inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the mouth. And now inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. One more round of each. So in and out through the nose. In and out through the mouth. And in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then slowly release, bending the right knee, roll onto your left side. And then using the right arm, press yourself up to sit. Coming back through a seated position, right where we started. Gently roll the shoulders up, back, and down, letting go of any tension that we might still be holding on to. Take a nice deep breath. Inhale, reach the arms, ground through your sits bones. Exhale, hands to heart. Thank you, PELWELL family, for joining me today for Restore and Rewind. From my heart to yours, be well.